The portrait lay face down in the dust, its gilt frame tarnished by centuries of neglect. Marguerite Ashton had been searching the attic of Thornfield Manor for her grandmother's wedding veil when her foot caught on the loose floorboard, and the hidden compartment beneath revealed what should not have existed: a painting of herself in clothes she had never worn, dated 1542. Her hands trembled as she lifted it into the shaft of afternoon light piercing through the broken slats. The woman in the portrait wore a crimson gown with blackwork embroidery at the collar, her dark hair swept back beneath a French hood. But it was the face that stopped Marguerite's breath. The same wide-set hazel eyes, the same slight asymmetry to her mouth, even the same small scar above her left eyebrow where she had fallen from a tree at age 12. Impossible. She turned the canvas over. On the back, written in faded ink, Marguerite de Valois, beloved, may I find her again. R.V. Anno Domini, 1542. The attic suddenly felt smaller, the air thick with dust and something else, the weight of 300 years pressing down on her shoulders. Marguerite had come to Thornfield Manor 3 weeks ago to catalogue the estate's contents before the auction. The current owner, a distant cousin of the original family, had died without heirs, and the solicitors needed an inventory. It was tedious work, but it paid better than her position at the British Museum's archives, and she needed the money. Her mother's medical bills had consumed everything. She carried the portrait down the narrow attic stairs, through the second-floor gallery where other paintings hung in dusty rows: landscapes, hunting scenes, stern-faced ancestors. None of them looked at her the way the woman in the portrait did, with that expression of patient waiting. In her makeshift office in the library, Marguerite propped the painting against the desk and lit the oil lamp. The manor had no gas lines this far from London, and electricity was a luxury the estate could not afford. She pulled out her notebook and began to sketch the frame's details: the signature, the date, professional habit, document everything. But her pencil kept returning to the face. Her face. You should not have found that. Marguerite spun around, pencil clattering to the floor. A man stood in the library doorway, tall and lean, dressed in black that seemed to absorb the lamplight. His face was pale, angular, with dark eyes that fixed on the portrait with an expression she had no word for. Grief? Hunger? Fear? Who are you? Her voice came out steadier than she felt. How did you get in? The door was unlocked. He stepped into the room, and Marguerite noticed he moved with peculiar grace, as if the floor barely registered his weight. I am Raphael Voss. I knew the family. I came to pay my respects before the estate passes to strangers. Mr. Voss? She positioned herself between him and the portrait, though she could not have said why. The solicitors did not mention any visitors. I must ask you to leave and return during proper calling hours. His gaze shifted from the painting to her face, and a shadow crossed in his expression: recognition, sharp and painful. You are her. You are truly her. I beg your pardon? Forgive me. He pressed his fingers to his temples, and Marguerite saw his hands shake. I have traveled far. I am not myself. He swayed, and Marguerite found herself moving forward instinctively, catching his arm before he fell. His skin was cold through the fabric of his coat, cold as marble, and when he looked at her, his pupils were dilated so wide his eyes appeared black. You are ill, she said. Sit down. I will fetch water. No. His grip on her wrist was gentle but immovable. No water. I need... He released her abruptly, stepping back. I apologize. I should not have come. But he made no move toward the door. Instead, his attention returned to the portrait, and Marguerite saw his throat work as if swallowing were difficult. You painted it, she said. The certainty came from nowhere and everywhere, from the way he looked at it, from the initials on the back. R.V. Raphael Voss. You painted this 3 centuries ago. Yes. The simple admission should have been absurd. She should have laughed, called for help, run from the room. Instead, Marguerite found herself asking, who was she? My wife. His voice thinned to thread. For 3 months, before the plague took her. I painted this the week before she died. I wanted to remember her exactly as she was. Mr. Voss, that is impossible. No one lives 300 years. No one human. He met her eyes, and in the lamplight she saw what she had missed before, the unnatural stillness of his chest, the absence of breath. I am not human, Miss Ashton. I have not been human since 1540. The rational part of Marguerite's mind insisted this was madness. The man was delusional, or she was dreaming, or someone had dosed her tea with laudanum. But the portrait sat between them, undeniable. And when she looked at Raphael Voss, she saw the same patient waiting she had seen in the painted woman's eyes. Prove it, she said. He smiled, and it was not a kind expression. You do not want that proof, Miss Ashton. If you expect me to believe this fantasy, I require evidence. Very well. He removed his glove and held his bare hand over the lamp flame. The fire licked his palm, and Marguerite smelled burning flesh, but Raphael's expression never changed. When he withdrew his hand, the skin was blackened and blistered. They both watched as the burns faded, the flesh knitting itself whole again in the space of 30 seconds. Marguerite sat down hard in the desk chair. Dear God! God has nothing to do with what I am. Raphael pulled his glove back on. I came here because I felt something. A pull I have not experienced in 3 centuries. When I saw the solicitor's notice about the estate sale, I knew I had to return, and now I understand why. You are her. Not in name, not in circumstance, but in essence. The same soul returned. That is impossible. So is a man who does not age, does not die, does not breathe. Yet here I stand. Marguerite looked at the portrait again. The woman's expression suddenly made terrible sense. That look of waiting, as if she had known someone would come for her eventually, as if she had been painted with the future in mind. Why did you become this? She asked. Why would anyone choose such an existence? I did not choose it. Raphael moved to the window, keeping his distance from her. I was attacked, drained nearly to death, then forced to drink in return. My maker was ancient and cruel, and he thought it amusing to transform a painter. He wanted to see if I could still create beauty after I had become a monster. And could you? No. The word was flat, final. I tried for decades. Every canvas was wrong, every portrait captured death instead of life. Until I met Marguerite, your namesake. She was a French émigré fleeing religious persecution. She saw me in the market square in London, sketching, and she asked if I would paint her. She said she wanted to remember herself as she was before everything changed. And you fell in love with her. I tried not to. Raphael pressed his forehead against the window glass. I knew what I was. I knew I could offer her nothing but danger. But she was persistent. She saw past what I had become to what I had been. She made me remember how to feel human. What happened to her? The plague. The sweating sickness, they called it. It took her in 3 days. I held her hand while she died, and I could do nothing. My blood could not save her. I tried. God help me, I tried. But the transformation only works on the dying, not the dead. And by the time I understood that, she was gone. Marguerite heard the centuries of grief compressed into those words. She stood and moved to his side, not touching him, but close enough that he could feel her presence. Why did you keep the portrait hidden? I could not bear to look at it. I could not bear to destroy it. So I hid it in the attic of this house, the house where we lived together for those 3 months. And I left. I have not returned until today. And now you believe I am her, reincarnated. I do not know what to believe. He turned to face her, and Marguerite saw desperation in his features. But when I look at you, I see her. When you speak, I hear her voice, and when you touched my arm, I felt something I have not felt in 300 years. Hope. The words settled between them, fragile as spun glass. Marguerite knew she should be terrified. She should run from this creature who defied nature, who drank blood to survive, who had lived through centuries while everyone he had known turned to dust. But when she looked at Raphael Voss, she saw only a man who had loved deeply and lost everything, who had been searching for 300 years for a way to feel whole again. I am not her, Marguerite said gently. I am myself, Marguerite Ashton, born in 1848 in Yorkshire, daughter of a country vicar. I have never been to France. I have no memories of a previous life. Whatever you see in me, it is not your wife returned. I know. His voice cracked. I know that. But I cannot help what I feel. A crash echoed from the entrance hall, followed by voices, rough, angry, male. Raphael's head snapped toward the sound, his entire body going rigid. They have found me, he said. Who? The Brotherhood, vampire hunters. I was careless in London. I fed from a man who survived, and he spoke of what attacked him. They have been tracking me for 3 days. More crashes, closer now. The sound of furniture being overturned, doors being kicked open. Marguerite heard at least 4 distinct voices, maybe more. You must hide, she said. The attic. They will search everywhere, and if they find you with me, they will kill you as an accomplice. Raphael moved toward the library's second door, the one that led to the conservatory. I will lead them away. Stay here. Lock the doors. Do not open them for anyone until dawn. Wait. Marguerite grabbed his arm. You are weak. You said yourself you are not well. You cannot fight them in this condition. I have no choice. Yes, you do. She pulled him toward the desk, her mind racing. The portrait. They are looking for a vampire, not a woman. If they see me, if I tell them I am alone here cataloging the estate, they will have no reason to search further. They will sense what I am. The scent of my kind lingers. Then we make them believe you were here and left. Overturned furniture, an open window, evidence of flight. She was already moving, shoving chairs aside, scattering papers. Help me, quickly! For a moment, Raphael simply stared at her. Then he moved, faster than her eyes could follow, wrenching open the conservatory door and shattering one of the glass panes. He grabbed the portrait from the desk and thrust it at her. Hide this. If they see it, they will know. Marguerite shoved the painting behind a bookshelf just as the library door burst open. 3 men entered, dressed in rough traveling clothes, each carrying a wooden stake and a silver blade. The leader was a broad-shouldered man with a scar across his jaw and eyes that swept the room with professional efficiency. Where is he? The man demanded. Marguerite drew herself up, channeling every ounce of her mother's aristocratic bearing. I beg your pardon? Who are you, and what gives you the right to break into this property? We are hunting a monster, miss, a vampire. He was seen entering this house not 20 minutes ago. I have been alone here all afternoon. I am employed by the solicitors to catalog the estate's contents before auction. If someone entered, I certainly did not see them. The leader's eyes narrowed. He moved past her to the conservatory door, examining the broken glass. This was smashed from the inside. Yes, about an hour ago. A bird flew in through the attic and became trapped. I was forced to break the pane to release it. It was a terrible lie, transparent and weak. But the man seemed to weigh it against the evidence of the room. The overturned furniture, the open window, the absence of any vampire. His companions were already moving through the conservatory, searching. He was here, the leader said. I can smell him, death and old blood. Then perhaps he left through the window before I arrived in this room. I have been working in the dining hall most of the day. The man studied her face for a long moment. Marguerite forced herself to meet his gaze, to show nothing but irritated innocence. Finally, he nodded to his companions. Search the grounds. He cannot have gone far. They left, boots thundering through the house and out into the gardens. Marguerite waited until the sounds faded, then moved to the bookshelf and retrieved the portrait. Her hands were shaking. "You can come out now," she said to the empty room. Raphael emerged from behind the heavy velvet curtains that flanked the window, curtains she had not seen him hide behind, curtains that should not have concealed a grown man. He looked even paler than before, if such a thing were possible. "You lied for me," he said. "Yes." "Why?" Marguerite looked at the portrait in her hands, at the face that was and was not her own. "Because you loved her. Because you have suffered enough. Because—" She hesitated, then spoke the truth. "Because when I look at you, I feel something I cannot explain, as if I have been waiting for you without knowing it." Raphael crossed the room in 2 strides and took her face in his marble hands. "Do not say such things unless you mean them. I have lived too long with false hope. I mean them." And she did, though she could not have explained why. "I do not understand this. I do not understand you, or what I feel, or why that portrait exists. But I know I do not want you to leave. The hunters will return. They will watch the house. If I stay, I endanger you. Then we leave together." The decision crystallized as she spoke it. "The estate sale is not for another month. I can tell the solicitors I need to consult archives in London. We can travel there, lose ourselves in the city while you recover your strength. You would abandon your work for a monster you met an hour ago? You are not a monster." Marguerite set the portrait down and took his hands in hers, feeling the unnatural cold of his skin. "You are a man who has been alone for 3 centuries, and she swallowed. "I have been alone my entire life, not physically but in every way that matters. I have never felt as though I belonged anywhere, with anyone, until now." "This is madness." "Yes," she smiled, "complete madness. But I am tired of being sensible. I am tired of cataloging other people's lives while having none of my own. If you are offering me something extraordinary, even if it is dangerous, even if it is impossible, I want it." Raphael closed his eyes. "I cannot offer you a normal life. I cannot offer you children, or a home you can return to, or a future that makes sense. I can only offer you myself, and I am broken. Then we will be broken together." He kissed her then, and his lips were cold, but his touch was gentle, reverent, as if she were something precious he feared to damage. Marguerite felt heat rise through her despite the chill of his skin, felt something in her chest unlock and open, like a door she had not known was closed. When they broke apart, Raphael rested his forehead against hers. "We must leave tonight, before the hunters regroup. I know places in London where we can hide, places my kind have maintained for centuries, but the journey will be difficult. We will need to travel by night, and I will need to feed before we go." "Feed!" The word brought reality crashing back. "You mean blood?" "Yes, I can survive on animal blood, but it weakens me. To have the strength to protect you, I need human blood, willingly given." Marguerite understood what he was asking. The rational part of her mind screamed warnings, but she silenced it. She had made her choice. "Take mine," she said. "No, absolutely not." "Why not?" "You said willingly given. I am willing. Because I have not fed from a human in 50 years. Because I do not trust myself to stop. Because if I hurt you, I will never forgive myself." "Then do not hurt me." Marguerite tilted her head, exposing her throat. "I trust you, Raphael Voss. I trust you not to take more than you need. I trust you to keep me safe." She saw the war in his expression, hunger and horror, desire and self-loathing. But she also saw the moment he surrendered, the moment he accepted what she offered. "Tell me if it becomes too much," he whispered. "Tell me, and I will stop." He kissed her throat first, gentle as a prayer. Then she felt the sharp pressure of his teeth, the brief flare of pain, and then something else. A warmth that spread through her body like wine. A sensation that was not quite pleasure and not quite pain, but something between. She felt his arms around her, holding her steady, felt the pull of his mouth against her skin. It should have been terrifying. Instead, it felt like coming home. When he pulled away, his eyes were no longer black, but a deep crimson, and color had returned to his cheeks. He pressed his hand to her throat, and she felt the wounds close beneath his palm, healing as his own burns had healed. "Are you well?" he asked. "Yes." Her voice was faint but steady. "Yes, I am well." "Then we must go. Pack only what you need. We leave in an hour." They moved through the house like thieves, gathering supplies. Marguerite took her notebook, a change of clothes, her grandmother's locket. Raphael retrieved a leather satchel he had hidden in the conservatory. It contained money, documents, and a small portrait of his first Marguerite, the one he had carried for 3 centuries. As they prepared to leave, Marguerite looked back at the library, at the portrait still propped against the bookshelf. "Should we take it?" "No." Raphael's voice was firm. "That portrait is of her, not you. I do not need it any more." "But it is evidence. If the hunters find it, let them find it. Let them wonder. You are not her, Marguerite. You are yourself, and that is what I want. Not a ghost, not a memory. You." She took his hand, and together they slipped out into the night. The hunters were searching the eastern grounds, their torches visible through the trees. Raphael led her west, moving with preternatural speed and silence, and Marguerite found herself matching his pace, her body responding to his guidance as if they had done this 1,000 times before. They reached the road as the moon rose, full and bright. A mail coach was approaching, and Raphael flagged it down with a handful of coins. The driver asked no questions, and within minutes they were rattling toward London, leaving Thornfield Manor and its secrets behind. Marguerite leaned against Raphael's shoulder, exhaustion finally catching up with her. "What happens now?" she asked. "Now we disappear. We become new people. We build a life in the shadows." "For how long?" "As long as you wish. A year. A decade. A lifetime if you choose it." "And if I choose to become what you are? If I ask you to transform me?" Raphael was silent for a long moment. "Then I would do it. But not now. Not until you have lived as a human, until you have experienced everything this life can offer. I will not steal your mortality until you are certain you wish to surrender it." "That is fair." Marguerite closed her eyes. "But I think I already know my answer." "Tell me in a year. If you still feel the same, I will give you eternity." The coach rolled on through the night, carrying them toward London and whatever future awaited. Marguerite thought of the portrait in the attic, of the woman who had looked so much like her, who had loved a vampire and died before that love could be fulfilled. She thought of Raphael's 3 centuries of searching, of grief, of isolation, and she thought of the strange certainty she felt, the bone-deep knowledge that this was right, that she had been meant to find that portrait, meant to meet this man, meant to step off the safe path and into the unknown. "Raphael?" she murmured, half asleep. "Yes? Do you believe in fate?" "I did not, but I am beginning to." She smiled and let herself drift, trusting him to keep watch, trusting the future to unfold as it would. Behind them, Thornfield Manor grew smaller in the distance, its windows dark, its secrets safe. And in the attic, hidden behind a bookshelf, a portrait of a woman waited in the dust, a woman who had been loved, who had been lost, and who had somehow, impossibly, been found again. The coach reached London at dawn. Raphael led Marguerite through narrow streets to a townhouse in Bloomsbury, a respectable address that hid a network of rooms below ground where vampires had sheltered for generations. The landlady, an elderly woman with knowing eyes, asked no questions and provided them with a suite of rooms that never saw sunlight. For the next month, they lived in careful secrecy. Raphael taught Marguerite the rules of his world, how to recognize other vampires, how to avoid hunters, how to move through society without drawing attention. In return, Marguerite showed him how to live again, how to find joy in small things, how to laugh without the weight of centuries crushing every moment. They attended the theater, sitting in boxes where the darkness concealed Raphael's pallor. They walked in parks after sunset, when the fashionable crowds had gone home. They read to each other by candlelight, and Marguerite discovered that Raphael had known Shakespeare personally, had watched the first performance of Hamlet from the gallery. Was he as brilliant as they say? She asked one evening. He was drunk half the time and insufferable the other half. But yes, brilliant. Raphael smiled. He would have liked you. You have his wit. I think you are biased. Undoubtedly. The hunters did not find them. London was vast, and the vampire community protected its own, but Marguerite knew this peace could not last forever. Eventually, the solicitors would wonder why she had not returned. Eventually, someone would connect the missing cataloger to the vampire who had fled Thornfield Manor. On the first day of the new month, Marguerite made her decision. She found Raphael in the underground library, reading by lamplight, and she knelt beside his chair. I want eternity, she said. I want it with you. Raphael set down his book. You have only known me 6 weeks. I have known you long enough to be certain. I do not want to grow old while you remain unchanged. I do not want to die and leave you alone again. I want to walk beside you through the centuries. I want to see the future together. There is no going back. Once the transformation is complete, you will be as I am. You will need blood to survive. You will never see sunlight again. You will watch everyone you know grow old and die. I know. Marguerite took his marble hands in hers. I have thought of nothing else for weeks, and I am certain. This is what I choose. Raphael pulled her into his lap, holding her close. Then I will give you what you ask. But not tonight. Tonight, we will go to the opera. We will dance. We will celebrate your last days as a human. And when you are ready, when you have said goodbye to the sun, I will transform you. They spent the next week in a whirlwind of activity. Marguerite wrote letters to her mother, explaining that she had accepted a position abroad and would be traveling for some years. She visited her favorite places in daylight, storing up memories of the sun's warmth. She ate foods she would never taste again, drank wine that would soon turn bitter on her transformed tongue. And on the 7th night, in the quiet of their underground rooms, she lay down beside Raphael and offered him her throat one final time. I love you, she whispered, in this life and whatever comes after. I love you, he replied. I have loved you for 300 years, and I will love you for 300 more. The transformation was agony and ecstasy, death and rebirth. Marguerite felt her human life drain away, felt the cold fire of vampire blood replace it, felt her heart slow and stop and then begin again with a rhythm that was not quite human. When she opened her eyes, the world had changed. Colors were sharper, sounds clearer, scents overwhelming in their complexity. And Raphael, kneeling beside her, looked exactly as he had before. But now she could see the centuries in his eyes, the weight of all he had endured, and she understood what it meant to be immortal. Welcome, he said, to eternity. They left London the following week, traveling north to Scotland, where the winters were long and the nights longer. They found a cottage on the coast, far from prying eyes, and there they built a life together. Raphael painted again, his canvases finally capturing the beauty he had lost 3 centuries ago. Marguerite wrote, filling journals with observations about their strange existence, creating a record for others like them who might feel lost and alone. Years passed. Decades. They moved when people began to notice they did not age, always finding new places to call home, new identities to wear like costumes. They met other vampires, some kind and some cruel, and they learned to navigate the hidden society that existed beneath the human world. But through it all, they remained together. Two souls who had found each other across impossible odds, who had chosen love over safety, eternity over mortality. And sometimes, on quiet nights when the moon was full, Marguerite would think of the portrait in the attic at Thornfield Manor. She wondered if it was still there, hidden behind the bookshelf, or if the hunters had found it and destroyed it. She wondered if anyone would ever understand what it meant. That a man had loved a woman so deeply, he had painted her face and carried her memory for 300 years, until fate or chance or something beyond understanding had brought them together again. She hoped the portrait survived. Not because she needed it, but because it was proof that love could transcend death, that souls could find each other even across the vast gulf of centuries. It was proof that some things were stronger than time itself. And as she stood on the cliffs above the sea, watching the stars wheel overhead while Raphael's arms encircled her waist, Marguerite knew with absolute certainty that she had made the right choice. She had found her place in the world, not in the daylight, not in the life she had been born to, but here, in the darkness, with the man who had been waiting for her since before she was born. "No regrets?" Raphael murmured against her hair. "None," she replied. "Not one." And it was true. She had traded sunlight for starlight, mortality for eternity, safety for love. And she would make that trade again, 1,000 times over, for the gift of standing here beside him, watching the endless night unfold before them, like a promise that would never be broken.